Gwyneth Paltrow. Sex attack. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. A few days ago I was travelling, and as part of my travel, this necessitated me being at an airport. It was rather busy, and I felt somebody bump into me. The individual clearly wasn't looking where she was going. Perhaps she was distracted by looking at the departures board. She issued a hasty, "Oh, I'm sorry." However, the moment that she impacted upon me, I suddenly thought, I think I'm a victim of a sex attack here, that this individual is seeking to get a quick feel of the old Tudor crown jewels. Later on, I was in attendance at a bar, and whilst ordering some drinks at said bar, I felt somebody brush against me. It was a busy environment, but once again I thought to myself, what, another sex attack? The second in just one day? And I glanced over my shoulder to see a not unattractive blonde easing her way past and offering a smile of apology for having brushed up against me. Clearly, once again, she was looking to get her kicks, and not do so on Route 66, but rather by crushing up against your glorious narrator. 2 sex attacks, one day. I was almost moved to contact the Times newspaper and advise them of this development. But alas and alack, I would probably not have been reported on, because instead somebody else had got there first. Yes, it is for her, it is she, of the inserting eggs into your vag and lighting candles that smell of said vag. Gwyneth Paltrow, according to Will Pavia of the Times, feared ski crash was sex attack. I'm pretty certain that all of you, when you are walking down the road and somebody happens to bump into you in a busy environment, immediately thinks, oh my goodness me, sex attack. Some deviant has sought to cop a quick feel of you, grope your undercarriage, squeeze a boob. Yes, when you're in the supermarket and someone has bumped into you because they're busy eyeing up the latest buy one get one free and not keeping an eye on what they're doing, and thus they bump into you, you think to yourself, crikey, I'm the victim of a sex attack. When you're playing a sport, and perhaps somebody comes in with a rather full muscle challenge, rather than think to yourself, I've just been fouled, you think, oh, that was a sex attack. Of course you don't. But let's find out what's been said here, and then of course examine it for you to understand why Gwyneth Paltrow feared that the ski crash was indeed a sex attack. Gwyneth Paltrow thought she was being sexually assaulted when she collided with another skier. The actress has told a court in Utah. Paltrow, 50, is being sued by Terry Sanderson, 76, a retired optometrist who claims she skied into his back, leaving him with 4 broken ribs and a traumatic brain injury. He's demanding at least £244,000. The Oscar-winning actress gave evidence to insist that Sanderson had skied into her. 2 skis came between my skis, forcing my legs apart, and there was a body pressing against me, she said. And there was a very strange groaning noise. Well, so far, so more Mills and Boon rip-off. Perhaps understandably she thought it was a sex attack, describing in such terms. Paltrow said she felt a large body pressed against her. She said she was not claiming it was a sexual assault. I'm just saying that what went through my mind for a split second. She added that she froze for a moment. Then it was probably a few seconds, and then we fell to the right, she said. Somebody must have caught an edge. I fell on his body. He fell on the ground. Paltrow said she got to her feet and shouted at him. A lawyer for Sanderson said you skied right into my effing back. I did, she replied. I apologize for my bad language. He replied, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. The lawyer asked, that was you screaming at him when he's on the ground. Paltrow replied, I was pretty upset. Well, pausing there, what's going on? Well, assuming, of course, that this recollection of events is correct, and there's a possibility that it isn't, and that Gwyneth Paltrow is telling a lie about what happened in order to nullify the threat to control that is posed by the suggestion that she is the one that was reckless in her skiing and caused the injury to Mr. Sanderson. But for the moment, let's assume that her evidence is correct. What's going on when she determines that she's the victim of a sex attack? Well, there might be some numbskulls who'll say, well, that's entirely understandable as to why she would feel like that. Come on. Not at all. Somebody bumps into you, your first thought isn't, I'm being sexually assaulted. It's, ouch. Somebody's banged into me or bumped into me. Two things arise from this. The first, if she is telling the truth about what happened, the fact that she believes that it was a sexual assault demonstrates her grandiosity. Because Gwyneth believes that anybody who would bump into her is wanting to sexually assault her because she's so desirable, so hot, and that anybody would want to get their kicks by doing so. After all, many sexual assaults occur, don't they, on ski slopes. It's a well-known haunt for perverts and deviants to go after people going, whoa, let me have a feel. The alternative, of course, is that it isn't true. And, of course, her own deluded mind demonstrates that it's not true by coming up with something so preposterous as to suggest that she thought that it was a sexual assault. Rather than say, he bumped into me and it hurt, her grandiosity, her self-absorption, causes her to explain, well, actually, I was being sexually assaulted. In effect, the narcissism in choosing a revision of history to nullify the threat to control posed by Mr. Sanderson's claim selects something suitably grandiose, ridiculous, superficial, and deluded. Therefore, the very fact of her claiming that it's a sex attack may well give us a clue to the fact that actually it didn't happen. Of course, her recollection of events is that she then shouted at him, declaring, "You skied right into my fucking bag." Again, if this is true, that shows a momentary ignition of fury as a consequence of the threat to control posed by Mr. Sanderson bumping into her, crashing into her. And her reaction to that is to turn around and swear at him. Now, of course, many of you will be thinking, well, if somebody bumped into me or crashed into me on the ski slope, HG, I would be responding by telling them, you just fucking crashed into me. What are you doing, you pillock, etc. Indeed, you would. But understand, although you and a narcissist may have similar reactions, the driver behind it is different. The narcissist driver of turning and saying, you skied right into my fucking back, is as a consequence of the threat to control posed by the person skiing into them and then needing to assert control over that individual. Similarly, the fact that she recounts that he said sorry is part of him giving control to her. The article continues. Sanderson's attorney asked if the actress would mind acting out the collision in the well of the court. Steve Owens for Paltrow objected before suggesting that one of Sanderson's lawyers should act it out with her. Sanderson, a small bearded figure in a blazer, appeared at the front of the court. He seemed to be the same height as his lawyer, who told the court that she was 5'5" in heels. Paltrow told the court that she was 5'10". The actress said it was her first day at the Deer Valley Resort in Utah with Chris Martin, her former husband, her children Apple, who was then 11, and Moses, who was 9, and her boyfriend at the time, Brad Falchuk, and his 2 children. She said they paid $8,980 for ski instructors for the 4 children. It was very expensive, she said. The accident happened as they were skiing down an easier slope to a restaurant to have lunch, she said. Sanderson's lawyer pointed out to a deposition given by one of the ski instructors who said her son Moses was saying, "Mama, Mama, watch me," while she was skiing. It was suggested that she turned to watch him as she skied. Paltrow acknowledged that Moses was on the left side of the slope and a little bit uphill from her. "I can still watch my children ski and be skied directly into my back by someone," she replied, which is what happened. Asked if she knew the etiquette for ski collisions, that one should exchange details with the other party, Paltrow said that one of the instructors was there to handle it, and my kids were waiting for me. The lawyer asked, "Are you aware that there is a rule of common decency?" Paltrow replied, "I would not have left the scene without leaving my information." She said Eric Christiansen, the ski instructor, had helped Sanderson to his feet, disagreeing that he had yanked him up. Asked if she had then gone to have lunch and a massage while Sanderson had to be taken off the mountain on a toboggan, she replied, "I still felt very shaky. My knee was bothering me. My back was bothering me." Of course, that's demonstrative of the fact that it's a big, big problem for Gwyneth Paltrow. After all, she's the one that's been hurt, and Mr. Sanderson's condition isn't her concern. It again all has to be about her. But it is demonstrative of her narcissism that she likens being bumped into, if that's what happened, on a ski slope with a sex attack. It also gives us the possibility of understanding that she's not telling the truth, that quite potentially her narcissism determines that that's what's happened and has gone for a somewhat grandiose and unbelievable response, and therefore belies the fact that it wasn't what actually occurred. But of course, in due course, the jury will make their own minds up about that, but it is instructive to be able to dissect these matters through the prism of her narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.